Blog Talk Radio.
I will not yield. I will not rest. I will not relent in waging this struggle for freedom and security for the American people.
Okay. We're live on Truth Talk Radio. That was a little bit of an intro for you. I have a serious topic tonight, and it's called net neutrality. It's very important, and I don't see why there isn't this big fuss about it. I do not understand that. I have a lot of information to show. People can call in at 424-243-9679, or you can Skype in. I need to put it on some different sites. I got most of it done. But this is a serious topic today, and life is in the internet, in the interwebs, is going to be a great deal different in the future, especially next year. Like, if you're a type of person that downloads the torrents, you will no longer be able to do that from America. Things have changed. The head of the FCC was outwitted and defeated with this ruling that happened, and perhaps this might go to the Supreme Court, perhaps not. It appears that the FCC is not going to fight it. I'm gravely disappointed. I'm shocked. I mean, this hit me hard earlier. I had no idea that this was going on. And this is going to kill internet equality. If you hear the term net neutrality, think internet equality. That's not going to exist anymore. It's not going to exist. There is a link, article on it, where the title is, "Here's Why the Court's Decision to Kill Net Neutrality Could Be Scarier Than Horror Movie Carrie." I mean, my throat is tight. This whole subject makes me nervous. You know, it's about time that we have some discussion on this. It's about time. I had no idea how, it's very important to be aware of what's going on in your world, in your country. Now we're going to be touted as like one of the Middle Eastern countries that does not have a lot to do with the world because their internet is so censored. Welcome to your new world. That's my understanding. This could be wrong, what I'm saying. It could be completely wrong. Make sure I'm not muted. Okay, I'm not muted. But this is frightening to me. So if you hear the term in the news, and they talk about net neutrality, it's actually the internet equality. It needs a different name. And I like that name that some people are referring to as internet equality. And they're taking this away from you folks. It's gone. Some people want to refer to as tariff-free internet, and it's gone. Some people like to talk about the internet as a free trade agreement. Broadband providers are like countries. So each through its own wires controls access to the domestic market for the consumer, the customer, like Verizon. And each until now has refrained from charging tariffs, a toll charge, on the products that cross its borders. Now you're going to see, in essence, all these little toll booths popping up at these borders where the information runs over the border. If you run a web-based streaming service, you can get to your customer in the heart of Verizonville without having to stop at the border to pay the toll, the tribute. And it's been true until now for a variety of reasons. Some earlier attempts at completely closed online economies, like AOL. You remember that? Prodigy? When compared to the growing internet of the mid-1990s, they weren't just nearly as good as providing all the rich services of an open economy. I really need someone that understands the economy. Like, what is an open economy? I mean, I'm learning here. Are you learning here? I am. I do see someone on the board. And again, before I bring this person on, the topic tonight is a serious topic. It's called net neutrality. Bill Wagner is supposed to co-host with me. He's not here yet. I'm sure he'll be here. He's alerted. He's a little bit busy this evening, so he should be here maybe a little bit later for those looking for him. But this is something that concerns him greatly as well. As you know, he's an email marketer, and, the world's going to be vastly different. And maybe this might be good for us in a way, too. It'll knock us off our pedestal that we've been put on. It'll be a come-to-Jesus moment. Come-to-Jesus moment. So as people are filling up the guest room, or the chat room, rather, I'm going to pull on this caller, the Skype caller. Skype caller, you are live on Truth Talk Radio.
Would that be me?
Yes, that would be you. I didn't know if you wanted to use your name. Pluto.
Well, Pluto is fine. Pluto works for me. So
now, Pluto, I understand you have a understanding of the topic that we're talking about tonight, net neutrality. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, net neutrality. It goes back to a decision made in 2002 by the FCC that converted basically broadband internet access used to be thought of under FCC rules as a telecommunication service like telephones or broadcast, and it was converted from that to an information service. And the thought was this would open up competition and free enterprise in the internet space and would promote new products, new services, new ideas, technical innovation, because it would be a wide open field that would really be deregulated. It was the idea was to get rid of the regulation of communications to allow the new forms of communications to appear. If you recall, the telephone system in the 60s was run by a monopoly, by the Bell system. We had the best
analog
phone system. It was an analog system, but it was the best phone system in the world. The only problem was if anybody wanted to, create a wireless telephone that worked on cellular technology, that was not allowed. You were not allowed to connect anything to the telephone network. They would disconnect you from the network. And that changed, and we ended up with digital cell phones and wireless telephones for our home. I mean, all of the innovation is unbelievable that happened because of that. So
it was like overnight, too. I remember that.
Oh, it was amazing. And so the thought was their heart was in the right place. What happened, though, is that at 2002, when they did switch it from a telecommunication service, which is considered a regulated service, to an information service, which is unregulated, companies like Comcast said, well, we don't like the idea of BitTorrents running on our network. They use a lot of bandwidth, and they for sharing files, and a lot of those files are copyright. They're illegal. It's illegal activity. So they decided to block through their routers BitTorrents. And the problem there is that legitimate companies had started using the BitTorrent file distribution system for legitimate reasons. So all of a sudden you've got a service provider who's arbitrarily stopping a service because they can. They can arbitrarily do anything they want because they're deregulated. Well, by 2007 or so, the FCC had realized they had made a mistake. They tried to re-regulate it, and Comcast didn't sue, but Verizon did. Verizon didn't want to lose net neutrality. Verizon is a very powerful company, as you know. And
so let me stop you there, just so I understand the comments, your understanding, because I'm pretty simple when it comes to things like this. So I'm sure some of my listeners are in the same boat. When you talked about net neutrality, is it the same thing as internet equality? Or I've heard that term being thrown about. Is that a good way to describe it?
In essence, it is where you do not, as a carrier, you do not discriminate in what kind of information is being delivered over a carrier. To do that, there is some very interesting case law about that if you start editing the material that is transmitted over your network, you are giving tacit approval to all the material you let through. So if somebody was sending kiddie porn on your network, then if you edited that material, you are giving tacit approval to all other material, even if it's totally illegal and contraband. So it's a very stupid way to go. And most lawyers, especially the telecommunications people, realize that it is. You do not want to get, like the phone company does not want to get into a situation where they will say, censor everything you do on the phone network, because if you were to use a dial-up modem and transmit a plan for an atomic bomb or kiddie porn or something illegal, then the phone company could be held as accessories after the fact, and they could,
like a third party.
Exactly. But yet if you say, listen, I'm not responsible for what's transmitted on that, all I am is a carrier, then you can disavow any claim to any liability for that. And that's the idea that has existed since the 40s or 50s, and culminated with a series of communications bills that were passed in the 70s and 80s. Just as data communications started to become very, very popular in this country. And then with the Internet, all those laws sort of flowed into that, and the Internet really exploded in the mid-90s with the adoption of the World Wide Web. So now, 2007, the FCC says, you know what, we screwed up. We're going to re-regulate it, convert it back into a telecommunications service that will guarantee net neutrality. And I want to underline, the FCC believes in net neutrality. That's what they want to do. And this has been the case.
And that's a good thing, right? That's a
very good thing. It means that you are not being nanny-stated by FCC. You do what you want to do. And that they are not going to block you from watching Netflix. They are not going to block you from whatever it is that you want to do. They just stay away from you, and they let you be free. It's true freedom. Well, Verizon took them to court. They went to federal court. A federal court ruled in favor of the FCC. They went to an appellate court. The appellate court, the Court of Appeals, sided with, overturned the lower court decision and sided with Verizon. So now what we have is
Verizon went to court. Verizon went to court to sue to be able to charge. Is that correct?
That's right. To not permit net neutrality. Now there's a big problem. The FCC is the regulatory body for communications within the United States of America. It does not regulate international communications. So Europe is just watching this. We are a very big source of the Internet, but this is a big planet, and most countries don't have this issue. The big issue is that there's a lot of political money that is coming out of telecommunications companies like Verizon that is going to the members of Congress, and this is primarily Republican members of Congress, and the Republicans are adamantly opposed to net neutrality. They do not want it, and they have threatened, because I think they've been paid off. That's my theory.
They've been bought. That would make sense.
And they have threatened to defund the FCC because the FCC can change it by fiat. They can simply re-regulate it right now. Fiat means by their just by making a decision. They don't have to go to a committee. They don't have to go to vote. They can just say it's re-regulated. Because they're a
federal
commission.
Entity.
A commission's made up of a panel of people that is usually appointed by Congress or by the president or by other people that are knowledgeable about this, and they are a wide variety of people that represent communications interests both for the public and for the communications companies. But there's enough people that no one group will have a monopoly on the decision. So in other words, it's theoretically wide enough that the people's voice is being heard because it's being represented by every possible side. It's very, very democratic. So you really, right now, the point is that the FCC cannot change the status of data communications of the Internet. They have to leave it as it is a information service. It is not a telecommunications service, and the FCC's charter does not apply to information services. The FCC